Well, welcome to the Port Talk series. This is an incredible moment, I have to say, because when a month ago, we decided this new experience to invite former students to speak and to share with us their findings in this we call post-pandemic architecture, we really didn't expect to have many, I have to say. I mean, even I was sending emails to colleagues asking for proposals, and we had one in mind, two in mind, and even I have to say now that I see you, both of you, Rafa and Maria, here, we didn't, evident things, no? In our own class, we didn't click because it's everything so new that to find references is difficult, no? When something is a reference, no? When is the moment that you decide? So we had the first one, it was Celine Verme, an incredible, the one that who hasn't listened to this Port Talk, I recommend that to look at that work. The second one was Joana Radut, and the third one was Andrea Calma with Maria Ponce and Rafa Pedraza. And now this one is our last reference. We need more time, I suppose, to gain future examples. I would like Markela Menico from Nicosia University, please, to introduce this one. Thank you.
Thank you, Javier. Hi, everyone, again. Very quickly, just want to say that Harris graduated from our university back in 2019, if I'm not mistaken, correct? And he has since worked in Madrid, in Vienna, his homeland, Greece, and now in the Netherlands. So he's becoming quite the globetrotter, I'm happy to say. This project, the Art House, which is the future housing of the unprivileged, was developed as part of his year 4 design studio exercise. Although Harris graduated from year 5 with an excellent thesis project, we felt that his year 4 project was more relevant, if you like, to the thematic of this Port Talk series. And strangely enough, and I want to highlight that, is that the project was developed in 2018, strictly speaking. So it was prior to the pandemic era. But somehow, strangely enough, the thematic has become more relevant now than ever, okay? So that's why we thought that it would be interesting for Harris to present this project and open up the discussion. His project, I will just say this and leave you to Harris. His project was developed under Unit 4. Unit 4 is a 4th and 5th year research group that I ran together with my colleague Adonis Kleanthos. The title of our unit is called Divining the Future, and it revolves around Cedric Price's quote, "Technology is the answer, but what was the question?" So we ask students to foresee the future incrementally in different stages in time. And particularly for Harris Group, we ask them to reimagine the future of living. Okay, so that's it from me. Harris, please, look forward to.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Markela, for the introduction. I'm gonna share my screen. So yeah, this project was projected to be in 2030, responding to the housing crisis that unfortunately is keep growing each year, and at the same time taking advantage of social media way of advertising, and kind of translating the virtual way of advertising through social media as we know it today, and making it and translate it into a physical space. So the combination of that would give us a new way of affording a house by just using the same way of circular payment that is happening by advertising products on social media. So now, instead of having basically your phone, you have an ad house, which is being sponsored by the mega social media companies like Facebook, which of course they're getting sponsored by the products to advertise their own projects, their own products. And there is, for me, the interesting thing, of course, that project was based on an assumption that Facebook and in general social media, after a period of time, they kind of dry out and they have a need to come up with new and alternative ideas. And of course, this year we had the metaverse new proposal from Mark Zuckerberg. And this project, in my mind, it's more of actually the opposite of metaverse. It's kind of the anti-metaverse. Of course, this project was developed before pandemic. So now, post-pandemic, we kind of went all drived into the mindset that we need to stay home more than ever and eliminate physical contact. But this project was the opposite, is taking the virtual world and actually apply it to the city. So actually my project for the unit's purposes, it was being placed at Marseille, which was coming as a site of having a housing crisis. But of course, we know a lot of other cities. For example, the city I'm living now, especially Amsterdam, has a huge housing crisis. And yeah, that basically this project can be applied in any busy urban context that they suffer from the housing crisis. And the strategy of allocating this project is, of course, to bring the circulation from the ground floor, as you can see in this axonometric drawing, and take it upstairs, and on the access points of the site, I'm allocating ad homes type 1, which you can see here. They are the first ad homes where the user has the option to select how many of his parts of his house he can advertise, and the more he does, the more basically money he earns, so he can afford more the house. And as you go inside the site, you get to see the ad homes type 2, which they are or kind of 100% exposed to the public. And of course, that means that they can afford even more the house, like they earn more money. And here you get a snapshot actually how it's to be in between this kind of I would say that also I forgot to mention that this housing is the housing units have been allocated in a beneath shopping spaces. So as you're wanting to, it's kind of a new mall. So as you're walking around, you get bombarded with the housing units, which basically they advertise you through their daily life products. So it's basically a live advertisement. As you can see here, someone is cooking his own meal, and he uses that time to maybe advertise a specific recipe for a restaurant. And the consumers, as they pass by, they get to see that, and they get to actually know more about the recipe, and they can get a photograph of the Q bar, and the Q bar can show them, for example, where they can find that restaurant to go and eat that dish. But also the same exact way, they get to see products. So they see some clothes being exposed here and advertised live by the user that he's living in the house, and then they can scan that and go find the shop and buy the same clothes. Of course, I used a lot of techniques to manipulate the consumer, where basically it's principles that have been applied for the best way of advertising any product or activity. So of course, seeing someone doing something live is one thing, and then the fact that also I was using materiality to kind of correspond to the activity or the product. And the other thing was exposing, when it's possible, smells that are related to the advertising of the product. And there were also some architecture details where how the user of the house could actually hide some of the non-wanted, some of the dirt, let's say, that's happening kind of behind the scenes. So, you know, through your phone, when you want to advertise something, you need to set up everything that the camera can see, and behind the camera anything can be untidy and dirty, you know, have clothes around that it's not part of the setup. So I'm kind of trying to offer through architecture solutions spots where the user could do that and hide the dirt and not be seen by the consumer. And here you can see it's a long section of my site, where basically, as I've said, starting from the ground floor, you start to meet the ad homes, the type 1, and then in the inner parts, the type 2. And beneath that, of course, there's a huge need for logistics center that they will constantly supply for the products and any material that the residents would need. And on top of that would be restaurants, shops where the consumer could go and pick up or try the product that they just experienced through the ad homes. And here you can see the 3 plants, starting from the ground floor with the logistics center. And this is the third floor. Actually, I'm cutting a bit more up to show kind of the complex circulation that it's been happening in between as you approach the central space of the project, which is part again of manipulating the circulation of the consumer so he gets lost, kind of a duty-free strategy where they make you go around, so they might, you know, buy more products. And in this snapshot, actually, I tried to kind of project it into more depth in the future, and kind of it's actually it was my last where I left the project, and I would actually be happy. I'm thinking lately to work on that. Especially living in Amsterdam, I get a lot of inspiration, and I'm thinking to develop more this idea. How would that be applied as an infrastructure, maybe in existing situations? And in this snapshot is what I've tried to do, and where I left the project, where basically the surroundings would be how they would also start maybe being affected by that project and doing the same thing. And last thing to mention is that this, for me, as I've started developing that concept, was an extension of Louis Kahn's architect theory about or terminology about the servant and served spaces, where Louis Kahn talked about servant and served spaces, and in my mind I took the servant spaces and split them into 2 different categories. As you see it, so we have the red, which is the served spaces. Served spaces meaning usually in a house it's the living room, for example, and servant spaces would be the corridor, the elevator, a storage room, and sometimes a kitchen. And I've projected that in the future the served spaces will grow and grow more, and basically then we reach that point where the served spaces are more. But then with the at homes, the space, the house itself become this in between served and servant space, where you living in a space, you're being served maybe from, you know, as I mentioned before, the logistics center, and maybe some automatic or let's say robotic systems. So they serve you for your needs, and then you yourself and the house serve the consumer, which it brings a different kind of level of serve and serve spaces. And yeah, that's it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Harris.
Was I too fast?
No,
Thank you.
I refill it.
Thank you, guys.
I would like, I mean, the idea of these lectures, as you know, they are to be something fast and not to extend it. But it's a question, I mean, about this such an amazing presentation is, what references, talking about references, have you taken? You have spoken about the duty-free. What other?
Yeah, basically this started kind of, there was, I remember, if I'm not mistaken, it's called Unbreathed. Unbreathed, how, Markela, if you remember. Yeah, it was a project where it was based on the having an unbreathed environment, and it was a new tech. I've exposed there. Oh no, sorry, I've explored there some qualities where how they made this a house of that conceptual project as an exhibition space, and the way that they would design that so for the visitors to come and have views, and it was an exhibition of the house, and also there were actors performing as being the residents of the house, for example, and that was something as I've used and see how they did the exhibition, and the visitor will come and have special perspectives for seeing the living room and see how the residents would live in that house. That was one thing comes in my head.
Harris, it's Alison and Peter Smithson.
Yeah, Alison and Peter Smithson. Yes. The unbreathed. Is it unbreathed house?
Unbreathed air, I think.
Unbreathed air. Yeah.
Looking, because for me, when you saw your section, in my mind, Las Vegas.
Yeah.
More similar, is different, but it's the most similar that I've seen compared to.
Yeah, definitely. I had in mind to represent in my visuals this kind of a lot of advertising labels of as it is Las Vegas or Napa or in Cyprus.
The underground Las Vegas. I mean, that's the richness of your section. That complexity that allows precisely to talk about the urban and serve spaces.
Okay.
Harris, thank you very much for this presentation. I felt like I was in Big Brother. Everybody was watching me, but well.
It's definitely not a utopian project. It was more of taking a dystopic scenario and trying to find ways to make some good out of a bad situation.
Yeah. Congratulations. Great work.
Thank you.
Okay, we need to go. Bye-bye. Thank you. See you next.
Right.
And then, Harris, you say that you feel a lot of inspiration now in Holland.
Yes, that's true.
In what way could you?
So for those that have been in Amsterdam, I don't know if you observed, but for me, one of the first things that really shocked me, apart from, of course, the legal weed and the red light district, is which it's related to red light district, but also locals themselves living even in the ground floor city center. They're not bothered of being seen by the public. They have huge windows exposed to the public. They don't even turn off the curtains. And it was really nice. Like I was walking through the city, inside the city center. I could literally just pass by residential areas and get glimpse of everyday people's life, how they actually live. Like someone was cooking, someone was reading a book, someone was playing with his kids, someone was just watching TV. And that to me, like when I was doing that project back in 2018, I was living in Cyprus, of course. And I really felt like, so I was discussing the project with my friends, Cypriot friends, Greek friends, all of them, including me, we thought, okay, this cannot happen right now. It cannot be applied culturally. But when I came here, I felt definitely that's the one culture that would have accepted, even maybe in the next 5 years, a concept like that. It's on the mindset of the people here. They don't care to be exposed. Of course, advertising, it's a different thing. But then again, my generation, millennials, and maybe, you know, even younger Gen Z generation, we are much more familiar with showing our daily life on Instagram, on stories, let's say. Some of us, not all of us. And yeah, and when you're in need of housing, which actually I'm right now in Amsterdam, to be able to do something while, you know, a house activity that you do anyway, and use the time to earn money, extra money. Yeah, I think it could be applied, especially here in a country like Netherlands.
Wow. Fantastic. Super inspiring. So thank you again, everybody, and
thank you.
We'll meet as soon as we have more good material to share. Okay.
All right.
Very much. Thank you,
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Bye bye.
Bye.